What it do, baby? It's your boy Tyrik Wynn. Y'all are tuning in to another episode of NJP, Navigating Journalism Podcast. And hey, we got a special guest in the building today. It is the one and only Baptiste from Atlanta News First, morning anchor. Man, appreciate you so much for coming on the show, man. It's great to have you.
It's great to be here, man. Can I just start by saying I'm very proud of you. I'm proud of what you have built here, and it's great just to be in your presence. You see what I'm saying, man? I know we're in for a treat today, so I'm glad you had me on.
Oh yeah, I appreciate that, man. I remember when I first got introduced to you. I've actually been a fan of y'all station since the Sharon Reed days.
Oh wow, okay, yeah.
So back when that was CBS 40, I think I started watching y'all in like high school and stuff. So I've been watching y'all since high school. And fun fact, Sharon was actually like one of my very first interviews when I first got in like to the industry and stuff. I'd had a podcast back then, but still, so that's when I got hooked. And then now when I wake up, before I go into the iHeart station, I'm putting it on y'all and watching you, Lana and Gravere and stuff, and y'all be doing y'all thing, man.
Appreciate that, man. We try to do what we can. That's all.
Yeah, for sure. So how's it been at A&F?
Man, it's been great. I'm coming up on my 2-year anniversary there now.
Congrats.
And appreciate it. But when I first came, the station was totally different. We were CBS 46 at that time. Yeah. The station was different. The reputation of the station was different. And now we've transitioned into this new brand, this new environment, this new work ethic that I think has really been beneficial not only for Atlanta, but for those beyond Atlanta. And I've enjoyed being a part of that change, being a part of that growth. Man, it's been incredible. I mean, I enjoy it every day. I enjoy waking up and doing what I love to do.
Yeah, that's what's up, man. That's awesome. So you grew up in Jacksonville, right?
Yep.
Okay, so how did you find your way to Atlanta?
Yeah, so I grew up in Jacksonville. I remember being a kid, actually in elementary school, about 4th, 5th grade, where I had this desire to be on TV. Now, I didn't know why. I was real big into music and everything too, so I thought maybe I'd be a performer someday. So,
you look like a performer.
Maybe a little something. But that was really my goal, was to be some kind of a performer. I even went to school for music. I went to school of the arts. I studied voice, piano, and then after that, I went to college for music and even had some scholarship money for music. And then I decided, you know what, this is not for me. What about that dream you once had in 4th and 5th grade where you desired to be a news anchor or a journalist? And so I ended up switching into the journalism route and landed my first job in college, actually in Jacksonville, as a video editor, because I happened to have a blazer on one day. Nice. And the managing editor decided to come on in, and she's like, you know what, you were dressed, you were so snazzy. I don't really see college students that look like that. So that's just a reminder, always dress for the job that you want, because you never know who is watching and who may have the key to a door that you're trying to walk through. So I found myself getting into journalism that way, video editor. Then I went on air, becoming a reporter, did some trending news reports, did some general assignment reporting as well, and then found my way here in Atlanta, man.
That's what's up, man. That's awesome. Yeah, you definitely got a great story, and it's crazy. I be telling people that too. It's like, yo, just dress the part.
That's
the part.
it. That's it.
It always had a look. And then, I'm a fashion guy. I call myself the fashionable journalist. I like fashion and stuff. Yeah, you always got to be dressed, man.
You do. And I learned that early on. I grew up in the church. I was a musician in the church. Like I don't like to call it gigs, but my first job in the church, I was 13 as an organist. Okay. And I remember being the youngest one in the place all the time. Like when we would go to visit different churches, I was like, who's this little kid about to jump on the organ? He don't know what he's doing. Then I get up there and I'm hitting these bass pedals and everything. And they're like, whoa, okay, you know what you're doing, man. And it's kind of one of those things where when you want people to take you seriously, you do have to, bring your A game. If you're going to be one of the younger ones in the room, probably like we are, one of the things that you want to do is dress the part, bring something to the table that they don't expect from people who look like us, whether it's age, whether it's race, bring something to the table that maybe they just don't expect, and give them something to talk about. I always say that. Give them something to talk about.
Yeah, man, for sure. Always give them something to talk about, man. And it's crazy, and it's funny that you said that, because we kind of got similar stories. I'm always the youngest person in the room.
Yeah.
It just be like that sometimes.
It is.
But yeah, makes you feel impressive though. So
and that's how it's supposed to be. That's how it's supposed to be.
Yeah, man, that's what's up. So you're at Atlanta News First, right? Mm-hmm. Being a morning anchor and stuff. So how did they? So they had a position open. I'm assuming, or like, did they contact you and they have seen some of your work?
So I was finishing up my time in Jacksonville. I had been there for a little more than 6 years, and at that point, I was getting married. So my wife, she was in Chicago because she's also in TV, and she had been living. We met in Jacksonville, but then she ended up moving to Chicago for a position there with a company, and I said, well, I got to find a way to get to Chicago after we got engaged and we were getting married. And I said, so I guess it's time for me to go on and close this chapter here in Jacksonville. I had spoke with my GM at the time. I tried to see how I could get a connect in Atlanta, because about a week before my wife and I got married, we found out that her headquarters was moving to Atlanta. Now, keep in mind, I had given up my condo, I had given up my job and all these types of things. And I was like, what do you mean we're not going to Chicago? Yeah. How does that happen? She was, as you can imagine, she was very afraid to tell me that. And she was like, I didn't know how you were going to react. But man, it was God's plan all along, because I got, got my agent on the phone. He started looking at some things in Atlanta and whatnot, and we were able to find an opportunity. And I came in to kind of do similar to what I was doing in Jacksonville here in Atlanta, at CBS 46 at the time. And then that opportunity just kind of expanded. They were like, well, hey, we want to launch a new show. And we want you to be one of the anchors of the show. And I said, well, let's do it. Let's get it. So we did. And then that's kind of just expanded my role there through the now almost 2 years.
That's what's up, man. Yeah, that morning show be popping for sure.
I appreciate that, man. The hardest part is getting out to bed. But once I get to work, I'm okay.
Yeah. It's crazy, because like I've had to fill in for like the 5 a.m. shift. Ooh. It is I'd be like, how do y'all be doing this every weekday? I didn't filled in for it, so
and the thing is,
once or twice. But
now doing it more than 8 years, almost 9 years, it doesn't get easier. I've been on this morning shift now for almost 9 years, and it's so funny because people are like, "Does it ever get?" I'm like, "No, it doesn't." I'm like, "It's awful every morning when you wake up, but when you get in the car and you put your music on and you make it to work and you walk in." And God forbid, when that on-air light turns on, you're just like, that part doesn't even matter. That's just a small part of the struggle. Yeah. When you really get to do what you love, it really doesn't matter.
Yeah, and I think we in such an exciting career. Like, no day is the same. Nope. And I feel like we be excited to get up out of bed,
We do. I know I am, for sure.
Yeah, for sure, man. That's awesome. So what I noticed on the show, or like, with the morning shift, I noticed that, I know Rob left, but I noticed that it used to be you and Lana. Now it's like you and Gravere and like Lana and
Rick now.
Rick, because he moved from afternoon. I told you I'm a lawyer.
I was about to say, actually, you know a lot. Okay, that's good.
Yeah. Sean Gables is actually my mentor.
Yeah, nice. Love Sean.
So she's awesome. So like, why did they move? Why did they change it? Like, why did they shift it up? Change it up?
Well, I mean, one of the greatest things about TV is it doesn't get stale. And some would argue that, depending on different stations that you watch, that it does. But one thing I've appreciated about our leadership at A&F is they're not afraid to change things. Not afraid to change things if something may fit better, something may work better. And that was what I think, basically happened. Lana and I, we actually worked in Jacksonville together. So,
nice.
People always like, y'all have such great chemistry. Well, Lana and I, we were actually good friends in Jacksonville and still are. We were young journalists, and we had a group that would hang out and everything like that. So we were very cool with each other. So doing a show together and getting to be our true authentic selves, we absolutely love that. Yeah. Well, sometimes things change. Sometimes, they look for something different, and that's just a part of the industry. Sometimes they want to see how this works and how this works, and will this better benefit the viewer, or will this better benefit our viewers on this side because of what people need in the mornings. There's a lot of research that goes into this stuff. So they decided to make some changes, and actually we've all applauded the changes because they've seemed to be quite well, and we've seen growth. We've seen growth, not just numbers wise, but we've seen growth in the way people approach us, even in the community. And they're like, man, I just love. But we've also done something where it allows all of the anchors that you're used to every morning to be present in a newscast. So it doesn't matter if you watch from 6 to 7, from 5 to 6, from 7 to 8, from 7 to 9, from 9 to 10. You're going to see everybody in the show, which is something that we've strived to do, because that allows you to understand that it's not this team and then this team. It's like, no. We're one big team, and we work together to produce this newscast.
I like that. That's awesome, man. Yeah, like I said, y'all do an amazing job.
Thanks,
and
man.
I mean, as a viewer, I love it.
Yeah, we appreciate that. That means a lot. I'm serious. Yeah. We don't necessarily do it for people to give us, the praise. I'm so churchy, but like to let us know that they enjoy it. But it feels good when people do say that what we're doing is working. It really does.
Yeah, for sure. And then, fun fact for those of y'all who are watching, if y'all didn't know, iHeartRadio and A&F are actually partners.
We're partners. That's why we're here.
Yeah, for sure. Yeah. So yeah, little fun fact there. And I remember when I found that out, I was like, okay, yeah, because I was like, they're my folks over there. So that's what's up, man. So you're in a top 10 market, right?
Yeah.
What's the stress level like there?
I've always looked at it like this. My journalism career has always been different from the average. There's things that I even have conversations with my wife about. And, she started off in a very, very small market, and then, kind of worked her way up, and then now she's national. And it's funny because she's with Scripps. She's with News. Yeah.
Oh, nice. Okay.
So she's a morning host in the morning for their network program. And it's just so funny because her experience is totally different than mine. I started in a mid-sized market in Jacksonville. So when I came into the industry, there was already a level of stress that I had not been aware of. Yeah. Why? Because that was where I got my start. There was the stress of you can't bring down the station because they're established. These are people, that I'm working with at the time who have been in the industry now for 10 years, some 15 years, some of the vets who have been there for 20, 25 years. So I can't come in there messing stuff up. You know what I mean? If anything, I'm just supposed to add to what is already there and what is already has been established. And that was what I strive to do. So when I came in there, I understood the stress. I understood the keys for preparation. I understood having, an anchor or a producer or even a manager that will pull you to the side and be completely honest with you and say, look, man, that was not good. You tried it, but that was not great. Yeah. But let's sit down and let's figure out how we can make it great. Mm-hmm. Not just the person, oh, that was awful, that was trash. Because there are people in the industry like that. Mm-hmm. I don't believe in that. If you take somebody up under your wing and you know that they're younger or they're a green producer or they're a green reporter, well, make sure you do your part, which is to guide them and help them get to where you are, because they obviously don't know what they don't know. Yeah. So now moving to Atlanta, there's still the stress of there are more people watching. It's a bigger market. There's a lot more that you're expected to know. But man, I don't get so stressed out. I really don't. There's still things every day that are going to challenge your thinking or are going to challenge you as a journalist, because you need to be able to be fair. You need to be able to make sure you present things in the right way. But I take every story kind of the same. I'm just like, they're just words. They're just words, and you're just telling a story, and you're making sure that whoever is watching this story understands the message that you were trying to convey.
For sure, man. So, and speaking of stories, what can you say? What has been like the hardest story you've had to tell?
The hardest story?
Yeah.
Oh man, I don't even know if I could think of one off the top of my head. So there's a thing called sweeps, which is like the ratings period, which I'm sure you know, but for those who are watching who may not understand it, there are a couple of months out of the year that, a lot of stations believe in putting your best work on the air. Mm-hmm. Now, one thing that I loved when I came to A&F, they were like, no. Every day you better be putting your best stuff on the air. And I like that mentality more than just, let's focus on a couple months out of the year to do it. But I got to say this, that used to present some stress to me when I was in Jacksonville, because it was such a thing. Yeah. And I was like, if I do this piece, I need to make sure it's extra good. But I did a lot of feature pieces. And believe it or not, sometimes the feature pieces were the hardest pieces. Why? Some people are like, well, it should be investigative journalism. That should be hard. But the feature pieces were hard to me because you're featuring a person. This person is essentially opening the door for you to tell their story the way they could not tell it. They sit down one-on-one with you, have the conversation, and you're expected to take that 30-minute interview and cut it down to 2 minutes. You're like, do you know what I have to do to try and chop all of this out, but still make sure I hit all of the points? And I've had some people who have shared some things with me that I'm like, I got to find a way to get this in the story. This is a part of your story. I have to find a way. So some of those pieces that I've done features with, even some Black history pieces, just thinking about some of the trials some people who look like us have gone through to really pave the way for us. Those have been some of the most challenging stories, just because the details are so hard to hear. But I love telling them because people need to know that information.
Yeah, for sure, most definitely. And it's funny that you say that, because like now that I think about it, I'm like, yeah, feature stories are like pretty difficult, especially like when you're doing those long form interviews and you gotta get all that stuff in there. Because I can tell you, it's been, you know, like you said, 2 minutes, or like packages supposed to be 2 minutes, minute 30 and stuff like that. I've been over my time plenty of times.
Oh, me too. And I've gotten yelled at by the producer, Brooks, man, you got to cut this down. I'm trying. What you want me to do? But I will say this, if you know that the story is good, and this is for any of the journalists that may be out there watching, go ask for that extra time. If you know that story is what people need to hear and what people need to see, the rules can change. Yes, we were brought up where, you know, a minute 30. Well, that's when you're talking about general stories. When you do those long form pieces, those producers will find some time. They'll try their best to find time. Those managers will find time. When you know that you've put together something that people need to see, they'll find time. They'll make it work.
Yeah, because I done seen some 5-minute packages.
Oh, yeah. Doesn't happen often, but it could happen. It could happen.
Yeah, for sure. Most definitely, man. So so let's talk about, what college did you go to?
So I went to University of North Florida in Jacksonville.
Okay, nice. Okay, so you got started in Jacksonville, right? But before you, when you were in regular school, did you do morning announcements?
I did in elementary school.
Elementary school, okay.
Funny story. I was in the 4th grade and I did the morning announcements, and we actually had a full-blown TV setup in elementary school. So we didn't just get on the microphone and go through the intercom and whatnot. We actually had a full-blown setup.
Oh, y'all were set.
Yeah, we tried to do a little something. Oak Hill Elementary, just to let y'all know. What's so funny, you know what station I visited as a kid was First Coast News, which was my first station.
Oh, wow.
And I remember we took a trip, as we would do every year, to a news station. And I remember sitting there, and there was Angela Spears. She's retired out of the industry now, but I remember her words, and I remember what I believe God, shared with me in that moment. We were sitting in these rows of chairs, all of us, the tech team is what we were. And I remember looking at the big screen, which was just the big monitor showing us the newscast that was going on at the time. And we were watching the noon newscast. Yeah. I remember saying, I'm gonna be on that screen one day. Now, I didn't know what power my words had at that moment. And, I don't try to get too deep about things, but I believe that there was a reason that God placed that in my heart. I really do. Yeah. And it's amazing to me that I was actually on that same set for the first 6 years of my career.
That is awesome.
Isn't that crazy?
That's a story, right?
Isn't that crazy? I like that. I literally shared those words, just put them in the atmosphere. I'm gonna be on that screen. I claimed it. And again, you never know how things will really happen, but it happened.
That's what's up.
Man. It happened.
I like that. That's awesome, because I think I remember CBS 46 was the very first station that I visited.
Wow.
Yeah, and I told myself the same thing. I'm gonna be on there. I'm gonna be on that screen one day. It ain't happened yet. But actually, that's not true.
Okay.
When I did an interview with Tracy Hutchins a couple of years ago, and that was when they had the 9 p.m. show, and they actually let me on the screen. They let me talk for a little bit.
Check you out. Well, who knows? We might see you someday. We might have a badge with your name on it. I don't know.
Hey, listen, I hope so. I remember I tried to get an internship there a couple of years ago. I applied for an internship there twice. I knew almost everybody up there. I did not get the internship. I was a little hurt.
Well, sometimes it be like that. But just remember, man, when you have a desire and God knows the desire of your heart, that's all that matters. I'll leave it at that.
Oh, yeah, for sure. Most definitely, man. So you said the name of the station was First Coast News, right? Okay. So talk to me about this, right? what was that first day like when the cameras came on, or your first live shot, or what? Because you started out as a reporter, right?
Yeah. So I did a lot of in studio reporting originally. Nice. That first one was awful. So I'm gonna keep it 190% real with you. And it's so funny because I actually get a notification every year because I post it to Facebook. Hey, my on-air debut and everything like that. And I always text the anchor who I was on screen with. And I said, Lord, do you remember this day? And we always chuckle because it's so funny. So my news director at the time, she was a firm believer that because I was new into the industry, it was important that I understood my material and didn't just come onto the scene using a teleprompter. So for her, it was like, Brooks, you're going to go out there. You're not going to have a script. You're going to do your thing. You may be in studio, but you're not going to have a script. Typically when we're in studio, we have a teleprompter. We have all the words.
No teleprompter?
No.
What? Bro, they just put you out there like that?
So the anchors who were tossing to me, they had the teleprompter. And then right after it got past their name, it said Brooks blank. Wow. And my mind went blank. So I'm over here like, what story am I on? As if the anchor didn't just toss to me about what I'm supposed to be talking about. I was like, I don't remember this story. So I, in a way, am stumbling, but in a way still trying to be smooth, but in a way not really fooling anybody but myself, but in a way still fooling a little bit of everybody. It was one of those situations where I was like, Lord, please get me off this camera. Please get me off of this. And it's funny because I still have that clip. No, I will never let anybody see it, but I still have that clip.
So I can air it on the.
You will not be inserting it in this recording, and then y'all laughing at me and talking about me. But no, I remember keeping it, and I keep it to see how far I've come from. I really do, and it's actually funny. It's still kind of cringy to actually watch it, but I just remember that I literally the words just slipped my mind. But man, oh man, I think it was good that happened because there's nothing worse than you thinking you've got it down packed and whatnot, and then that happens later on in your career. At least I didn't have a reputation then, so it was okay that it happened back then. But yeah, I remember that day. It was tough, but that next day, I worked my butt off. I made sure I was prepared. I made sure I knew what I was talking about, and it kind of challenged me in that moment to like, hey, get your stuff together. Make sure you know what you're talking about.
For sure.
Make sure you know what you're talking about. And then from that day forward, always, I will not get on the camera without not knowing what I'm talking about.
That's good, man. And somebody gave me some real good wisdom a while ago. They said, like, when you're in this industry and you're doing, like, you're doing what you're doing, even if you don't know what you're talking about, look like you know what you're talking about.
Of course. And I always say, one of the greatest parts about journalism is that only talk about what you know about.
Yeah.
Like, the idea is when you get on the camera, it's not to be, this expert in everything. We're journalists. We ask the questions. We learn as we go, but we ask the experts for their insight, and then we report on it, right? The idea is not to be, you want to be a well-versed journalist, and you want to be a journalist, but we're about being accurate. Yeah. So if that means I've only got 2 sentences, if that's all I know, that's all I know. I mean, the idea is not to speak for 25 minutes on something I don't know, and then now, they're like, I can't trust him because he just makes stuff up. That's not how it's supposed to be. So you speak on what you know, and you smile and you nod and you like you say, you better act like you know what you're talking about, but know what you're talking about, and even if it's very limited, that's okay. Give the people what you know.
Yeah, and then always have confidence behind it too.
Absolutely.
Yeah, gotta have that confidence, man. Especially like when you up there, you telling them stories. Gotta have that gotta put that power behind it.
You better.
Sure. Yeah. Because I always say it like when you do that, I feel like the viewer takes it in a little bit more.
Absolutely.
They grasp the story more.
They understand it.
Yeah. Once you put that confidence behind it and know what you're talking about. Yeah, for sure, man. And then I'm glad you shared that because we all have those awkward moments on camera.
Of course.
That we don't want to relive. Going back watching old clips, like going back watching my first stand up, I just cringe every time. It's like
same.
But like you said, once you keep those clips because you get to see how far you've come. Yeah. And it's good. And it like you see, okay, wow, like I done came a heck of a long way.
Man, look, it's crazy. I even take moments to look back at like my first stuff here in Atlanta. And I even have a copy of my Atlanta audition tape. And it's funny, like just to look at how far you've come. And it's like, yeah, you might have been good,
Yeah.
But now you're gooder. I know that's not a word, by the way. So don't start writing in and talking about, did he really just say that? But now you're great. You know what I mean? And you actually look back at those things, and you're like, wow, I have come a long way. And wow, I actually, I thought I was doing something then, but check me out now. Now I'm really doing. And then you have to start thinking about, I wonder what 10 years down the road is going to look like. I mean, you're doing this every day. You only get better by the day, right?
Sure.
And like 10 years down the road, I might be like one of those vets that I'm used to, I always looked up to and stuff. That's the greatest part. So
yeah, for sure. That's what's up, man. I love that, man. And they always say you're always supposed to move. You're always supposed to start in lower markets to make your mistakes and then move forward and stuff. Me personally, I kind of have a funny feeling about that. I don't necessarily agree with it.
I don't either.
You don't?
I didn't, because I didn't do that. That wasn't my journey. And I'm curious to hear your thoughts about it too, but for me, it's always like, why not allow people to dream big? Why not allow people to think that they don't have to start in market 202? And again, I do think there is a time and a place for that. And there are some people who may be, may do better if they started, because some people do make some major mistakes. And there are mistakes that you make in a small market that if you made in a market like Atlanta, you're done. Like, nobody's going to hire you. Like, you cost the station a lawsuit, like those things. So you do have to be careful. But if you have that desire and you have that work ethic, I feel like you can start somewhere that doesn't even make sense and may be out of the ordinary, but you brought what you needed to bring to the table and you had the right mentors around you, you won't fail.
Yeah, for sure. And for my take on it, like I said, I feel the exact same way, because I had a lot of people telling me, Tyrik, you need to start in markets 100 or below. I was like, I'm not doing that. Yeah. I told them to their face. I was like, no. I was like, I'm not doing that. And I think when you're in this industry, you have to tell people, you have to let people know what you want to do, what your passions are, and everything that people feed you, you can't accept that.
No,
because people are gonna feed you stuff. I've had even mentors feed me stuff, and I'm like, nah, I'm not doing
that. They'll put it in your mind, and when that thought and that doubt is in your mind, it can weigh on you. Because it'll have you thinking, if this person is telling me this, then maybe I'm not that good, or maybe I do need to grow a little bit more. And I think nowadays there are so many ways for you to grow. I think there was a time where you only got TV experience on TV. Well, now we have social media. Now we have all of these different things. Now we have podcasts. Now we have things that allow us to get before camera and actually do what we do and grow every day, versus back in the day, all you had was the 5 p.m. newscast, and all you had was the 6 a.m. newscast, and those different things that allowed you to get that growth. Well, now you don't have to have those things. There's so many other platforms, and even the news stations. It's not just about being on TV. We have to think digital first too. There's platforms. Now we're streaming everywhere. Now we're doing all these things. So there's always opportunity versus the linear opportunity that I think we had back in the day. It's changed.
Yeah, most definitely. And then if you look at these, not doodling on the smaller markets, but if you look at these smaller markets, I'm gonna be honest with you, the pay is not there. The money is not. The money is not where it needs to be. Right. And that, for me, that was one of the main reasons where I didn't go to a smaller market, is because one, I'm like, if I take this, I feel like, me personally, because I have a lifestyle, to be honest.
We see you with your chain and whatever else you got on in here.
I appreciate it. But I just felt like I was going to be struggling and calling home, asking, one thing I told myself, I do not want to call home and ask my parents for money, especially after they raised me, they done brung me up. Calling home, asking for money, it's not something I want to do. And I just feel like, had I done that, I'd have been struggling. And it's what do you, when you take those jobs and you only making $23,000 a year, it's what are you supposed to do? How are you supposed to budget?
And it's funny, because I've heard of people who have made less than that. They're my first job was $17,000 a year. Wow. Could you imagine trying to live off of that in today's time anyway?
Yeah. With inflation.
That's what I'm saying. I'm telling you, that can get you food a year now. I mean, it really can. You're trying to pay rent and lights, water, all that stuff. But I think there was a time where people, and we've seen, let's face it, we've seen in the broadcast industry something that's actually slightly scary, slightly jarring. A lot of people have left. Throughout the pandemic, a lot of people have said, I'm getting out of this industry. And there's been a couple of things. People have been upset about the pay. People have been upset about the, quote, lack of work-life balance, all of those things. And then there are a lot of people who just aren't happy in the industry. I mean, we wake up and we genuinely enjoy what we do, and that's just who we are as people. I still enjoy my time with family. I still enjoy my time with coworkers. I still enjoy my time with the community when I'm out hosting and emceeing events and stuff like that. I enjoy all of that. In a lot of ways, it does not feel like work to me. Like I told you, the part of me that feels like work is just getting there in the mornings because it's just so early. It's 3 in the morning. It's a struggle. It is. Other than that, I mean, this is not work. This is literally me just doing what I love to do. Interviewing people, love to do that. Hearing people's stories, love to do that. And there are a lot of people who just don't have that same passion. And also some people who weren't granted that same opportunity. So, if all they are able to do is cover a fire or cover a bad car wreck, and they're like, I have to take that home with me every day. That's taxing on your mental health. It is. And a lot of people felt like they had to get out of the industry for that reason. Yeah, I'm sure, because if you're covering a murder every day, I know that has to be difficult. Absolutely. Yeah. There's times where that weighs on you, and then you start wondering yourself, like you put yourself in some of those positions. You're like, wait, what if this is my family member that I'm talking to because I was the one killed? You do feel those types of things. And, as journalists, our job is to report the facts, keep it objective, keep your opinions out of everything. But we're still humans. And sometimes the human thing is to have the empathy. And I would argue with any journalist about that. I know there's some that just don't believe in that, but I'm like, you know what? You are still a human. There are still people. You're telling their stories to bring awareness to something in the community. This is your community. This is a real person you just interviewed. This is a real person who just had to bury their son, their daughter. No parent should ever have to do that. Exactly. So sometimes you keep in touch with that parent. You say, I'm just checking up on you. Just want to make sure all is well. There's nothing wrong with that. You're still a human, and that is still a person in your community. Yeah, for sure. And I'm glad you said that because that's good. I think as journalists, when we do these certain stories, I do think it's important to keep in contact with the people and stuff. Like you said, check up on them, see how they're doing and stuff like that. That's a really good tip. Sometimes you should. I really do. I'm a firm believer in that. Yeah, because nobody teaches that. So, no. Matter of fact, some teach against it. Exactly, but it's but those connections that you make, not only do they lead to more stories, they lead to trust. Now people in your community trust you because they know that you're not just in my face for a story. You're actually there because you kind of care about me. Like you genuinely care enough to still reach out and just check up on me, and again, or we're connected on Facebook and you at least just say, hey, drop a comment from time to time. Oh man, so proud of you. I remember when, those types of things. People remember that stuff. They do. And that makes them feel good. So and going back to what you were saying earlier about people leaving the industry. Yeah. At the NABJ Region 3 conference, for the Southeast and stuff, our former president, Dorothy Tucker, she literally did a speech on people leaving the industry and how us as Black journalists, we have to stay in the industry to continue telling our stories. Because if we don't, they won't get told. Exactly. There are a lot of stories that we bring to the morning editorials that for people who don't look like us, they might not be considered important, right? Just like there are stories that may not be important to us. That doesn't mean that they aren't important to the community. But that's why it's important to have a diverse newsroom. That's why it's important to have a diverse crew of people who can really sit down and say, you know what? Yeah, this one may not affect me directly, but I see why it's still important for us to tell this story. And Black stories especially. That's why I never take it lightly when we do pieces for Black history. I never take it lightly when we have different months that are geared towards people of color. Tell those stories because if we don't tell them, they won't get told.
Exactly, and that is factual for sure, man. And I like because y'all did a little something special for Black History, didn't y'all?
Yeah, we usually do every year. Then we do stuff for Juneteenth as well. So and I've loved. Yeah, we have our big parade every year. It's always a great time. We usually do a special as well. Those things they really give us an opportunity to share the stories that people just wouldn't get to hear. You know, and in the South especially, that is so important. It is so important, man. And, you know, it goes beyond Atlanta. Atlanta has a pretty heavy population of people who look like us.
Yeah.
But there's also a very nice population of people who don't look like us, you know, that maybe live in the metro. But those things are important because if we're not telling them, we're not sharing those stories, I'm telling you, they will go, you know, on deaf ears and people just... I think there's no significance and no importance. Yeah, so
definitely got to continue to tell these stories for sure, man. And you know, like I said, y'all are doing a great job of that.
Thank you, man. We appreciate that.
Of course, a whole bunch of other journalists are doing a great job of that as well. So just gotta keep it going, man.
That's right. Sure. That's right. Keep it going.
Yeah. So those are some real exciting times within your career. Can you share some other exciting times, you know, within journalism that you've experienced?
Yeah, man. You know what? I think one of the things that's exciting. So since I've been here in Atlanta, I've gotten an opportunity to do certain things that maybe I didn't do in Jacksonville. You get to meet a different scale of people. You know, Jacksonville is a smaller city compared to Atlanta. It's still a mid-sized city, but everybody doesn't make a stop there. Everybody makes a stop here in Atlanta, and I always love meeting people that I've watched on TV or people that I've, you know, and it's funny because I'll ask them a question about an episode that they starred in and they're like, what are you talking about? And I'm like, see, you ain't no fan of yourself. See, I'm a fan because I know the stuff that you don't even know about. Exactly. And they'll be like, oh my gosh, like George Wallace being one of, that is my guy. I actually talk to him a lot. Oh, nice. And you know, he came on the show one day. I interviewed him. He's a comedian, so of course he roasted me. He does not care about your feelings. But that started in a way of friendship that I never would have imagined we would have. Yeah. You know, I've done a story on him as well for Black History about the neighborhood that he grew up in that was historically Black at once. But then all the Black folks was pushed out of that. So we went back there where his childhood home was, and it's one of the very few homes that still sits there, or stands there, I should say. Wow. Everything else has been torn down around it.
Now that's a story.
And he just sold it to the city after they begged him for a lot of years to, hey, get this eyesore out of our community. Yeah. And he finally gave it up. Wow. The reason I say that is because when I shared that story, you saw a different side of George Wallace than what we're used to seeing on TV. Yeah. We just see him as a jokester. He's funny. and when I first met him, I told him, I was like, you know, one of my favorite things that I've seen you in. He said, what? Now, I know he's thinking that I'm about to say one of his, like, you know, stand-up thing. No. I said, when you starred in an episode of The Parkers, and you was Nicky Parker's real daddy. Like, I was like, that is so crazy to me. Yeah. And he's like, you remember that? You're too young to be knowing about it. I'm like, no, man, I've seen every episode you could think of The Parkers. But it's just funny when you bring some of those things up to them. Or my niece, you know, she's like, oh, Mr. George Wallace, he is the granddad, I think, of Zendaya on one of the shows or something on Nickelodeon. She loves Zendaya. So she's like, can he talk to Zendaya? I was like, no, niece, I don't think that's how that works. But, you know, but it's just those things where it's funny to see different generations, how he's made an impact. And I love to share those things. Or I love to meet those people because that's something that I don't think I necessarily had that opportunity to do in Jacksonville. Yeah. But I did know everybody and their mama and their cousin in Jacksonville because that was the only city I knew prior to moving. Yeah. So doing those things in journalism, man, has always been great. And even for me, man, like I don't know. I can name a couple of people like Janelle Monáe when she came, man, that was awesome.
I love her.
Yeah, how she was awesome. And she's incredible in person. People always ask me, what's like the biggest name that you've interviewed? And I always say, I don't know. because I kind of black out when people ask me that question because I'm like thinking of the different people and I'm like, wait, who else did I? Then I have to go back to my YouTube and say, yep, you interviewed that person, that person. I'm like, oh yeah, I should have said that one. So that's kind of always how I feel about when people are like, what are your most memorable moments? Man, there's something memorable every day.
For sure.
So it's hard to really like pinpoint and say there's just that one thing. There's something memorable every day.
Yeah, for sure. Yeah, and it was funny you say that because I was sitting at breakfast with Dad yesterday. And I was trying to calculate. I was like, the way I did it, I just chose this. I was like, I'm gonna just do it based off of followers. I was like, whoever got the biggest following, this is my biggest person. This
okay.
Say, right? So yeah, I was like, so for me, it's actually been Ludacris.
Okay, nice. Yeah.
I think he has like 16.7 million.
Yeah, that sounds about right.
Yeah. So that's like been the biggest person for me. But Janelle Monáe, she got like a couple million, right?
Janelle Monáe might be the biggest name, honestly. I'm trying to think, and I remember that day. Now that was one that I actually was a little nervous about, and just because like that was major for us to have her in the studio, and I said, ooh, I want to make sure we do this right, and it required me to do a little extra research to make sure, because a lot of times when I do interviews, I go into it with a curious mind. I mean, I know what we're there to talk about, but I also understand that I'm no expert in what we're there to talk about, which is why we have you on.
Exactly.
So for me, and we talked about this right before we went on camera. We don't share questions about what we're going to ask and stuff like that. A lot of times, we hate doing that.
No, like stop asking us to do that.
And like, we were literally talking. We were literally talking right before, and I told him, I was like, look, man, I was like, I don't know what to expect, and he was like, you good? So in other words, you just follow my lead, and that's what I mean, that's really the greatest thing when you can do that, and when you have people that you're around that you did. So for me, I like to go in as a journalist with a curious mind, because if I have that question, somebody at home has that question too. And when they're watching, they're like, why didn't they ask this? But if it's so calculated, you're going to get a lot of that. Well, why didn't they ask this? If it's just we're going on the fly and the conversations tends to go this way, that's more raw and it's more real. So,
for sure. Yeah. And then like I would say when it comes to doing interviews, I would say like the only, I guess, scripted part has been like sometimes the publicists, they'll just send talking points and stuff.
And there's nothing wrong with that.
Yeah, and that helps us. That actually helps us out.
Yeah, I mean, there's got to be an angle for the interview. There needs to be a reason of why you're on the show, or what are we really here to talk about. But sometimes we might go a couple of different ways before we get to really what you're here to talk about. Or we'll get that out the way just to say we checked the box, and then we'll ask you some of the questions that we know people want to know about.
For sure. Because like, for example, I was interviewing Candy from the Housewives. And like, I had her publicist that sent me the talking points. The show was not one of the talking points. I was like, I'm talking about the show.
Of course. Because people at home want to know that's what they know her from. Exactly. Not that she hadn't done 50 million other things outside of the show. I mean, Candy Bird, she is just absolutely incredible, her mind and her business mind. But people want to know about Real Housewives. That's what they're watching every week. So
we fans of.
Yeah.
Right? Exactly. And what you and it's funny because fun fact, like when I be watching y'all in the morning when you be doing your interviews, fun fact, when you do your interviews, some of those same people be coming to me. Like a couple hours later. So
it's like a press tour. They say we're gonna hit this station, then we'll go to this station, then we'll go to this radio station, then we'll do this, that.
So that's just something I thought was pretty funny. But,
yeah,
man. That's awesome. So we kind of touched a lot on journalism and in the industry and what you've done and stuff. But let's learn a little bit about Brooks himself, right? So
outside of TV,
of course. So for those of y'all who don't know Brooks, well, he already mentioned that he's married, but he's also a new father, right?
New dad.
Congrats, man.
6 months into this thing. And oh boy, 6 months is something else. I'm telling you, 6 months is that age where you want to make sure you kick them out of the parents' room. So we just kicked my little boy out. Thank you, Jesus. He's sleeping. He's sleeping through the night, man. But let me talk about that, because there's a lot of people who don't understand like being a parent and in this industry. And there are some who are parents. There are some who are single. There are some who are just married but don't have kids. And they're married, or there's some who are truly married to this industry. For me, it's always been, I still want to have a family. I still have a legacy. Sure. I still want those things, and I desire those things. And my wife is the same. So for us, having a child and trying to balance that life has not been easy. It's not been easy because we both work morning shifts. Imagine having a screaming baby in the middle of the night, and you work morning shifts. You already don't get a lot of sleep when you're a morning anchor and stuff like that, or a morning reporter, and adding a baby on top of that cuts down on the 5 hours that you were trying to get at night, and now it's looking real 3.5-ish, if that. Those things. So it's a struggle, man, but I wouldn't trade it. I look back on the past 6 months, and believe it or not, in the past 6 months, those have been some of my best shows, which is crazy to think.
That's funny.
But you may be operating off of less sleep, but you're operating on more, I don't know what the word is, but there's something on the inside that's more because you're a dad now.
Yeah.
You're like, I'm going to make my son proud. I understand that he may not be able to identify me if he looks at a TV screen yet, but there will be a day where he does. Yeah. There will be a day where he looks and he's like, that's my dad. He telling his friends, oh my God, yeah, that's my dad. Or he's embarrassed. Someone, yes, that's my dad. Whatever it may be. But those are all of those things that, you think about that stuff up front because you're like, my walk is different now. Yeah. The way I present myself is different now because I'm not single. I'm married. I'm not just married. I'm a father. I'm not just those are all of those things that you now think about. So man, I've loved watching life kind of morph into what it's become. I know there are still a lot of things ahead, but man, outside of work, I love to eat at good places. I love live music. I love to catch concerts, which is one of the reasons I love to call Atlanta home because I was at the last concert I was able to go to was Janet Jackson.
I was there too. Yeah, Janet was awesome.
That was a good concert. And I love going to some of these amphitheaters around here and just catching different people. Still got to see John Legend. Still need to see Layla Hathaway, which is one of my favorite artists, if not my favorite artist. And if y'all don't know who that is, y'all need to find out. That's who I want to interview. I want to interview Layla Hathaway because I absolutely adore her and her music, man. Oh my gosh.
That'd be a good one right there.
Sure. So, that's me, man. I love to spend some time outdoors. I'm not, when you're in the studio all day, you really start to appreciate being outside as much too. You know what I mean? And I love nature, man. I love just taking a moment just to break away from my cell phone, break away from the news, and just enjoy what's right there before me. So those are those things that I like to do. Other than that, I don't know if life is that interesting. It really just depends. It's also different right now, but those are my things, man.
Yeah. So as a full-time anchor, like how often do you get to actually travel and go on vacation?
It really varies, man. Sometimes I take time off just to reset. It's not even to go anywhere. And now being a dad, it's not so easy to just go and take a trip. So I've got some stuff coming up in October that I'm looking forward to. But things are very different when you have a child. You can't just leave your child anywhere because it's things different. I gotta find childcare. It's harder to get out just to do a date night and stuff too. And we're here. We don't have family here. Yeah. So for us, it's like, hey, Mom, I need you to make a quick little trip up here. You think you can do that? You want to spend the weekend with us? And of course, we have great parents who love to come and spend time with their grandchild. But still, they have lives too. We don't have grandparents who are 70, 80 years old who this is all they do. Our grandparents our parents, they still work. They still have things they're out here trying to do as well. They still have a life on the weekends and all those things. So we can't just take all of that away from them. But those things make it a little challenging. But I mean, we get, like everybody else, a couple weeks off out the year. Don't get holidays off necessarily. Yeah. Some holidays you do get off, but that's part of this industry anyway. So
yeah, for sure. And it's funny you say that. My parents told me a long time ago, they was like, Tyrik, we not them type of grandparents. We gonna be traveling. Yep. I was like, listen. I was like, look. Y'all gonna, when I have a child, when that time comes, it's like, y'all gonna be getting this baby, so I can go have some fun.
They say, it's your baby for a reason, not ours. We already raised our kids. They try they forget that they were doing the same thing to, their parents, our grandparents. Exactly. We're we used to see y'all, we was over at grandma's house a lot.
Yeah,
so
come on,
it's time to drop ours off to y'all.
Returning the favor. I mean, it's a train.
It's a cycle, right?
Exactly. That's how it be, man. Before we close it out, I did want to ask you this because you did say you like to eat. What's your favorite restaurants?
Oh, favorite restaurant since I've been here. Okay, let me tell you. So Toast, I'm a big brunch person. Toast on Lennox has been one of my favorites. Oh my gosh!
I love Toast on
and Gaucher's Breakfast Bar have been my favorites.
Those are awesome. Bro.
Also, another local spot, Big Dave's Cheesesteaks.
Yep.
Which is Derek Hayes. Oh my gosh.
Yo.
And this dude out here, recently got a chance to interview him. He is out here killing it.
Oh, yeah.
His wife, Pinky Cole, owner
of
Slutty Vegan and Bar Vegan, they are killing the game. So God bless them both. But still haven't been to Slutty Vegan yet.
You haven't?
No, I haven't.
Oh, yeah.
I hear I'm missing out, though. I hear I'm missing out.
Good.
But yeah, those would be some of my top restaurants so far.
That's what's up, man. Yeah, I've ate at all them places.
Yeah.
Let me tell you something. Dave's Fried Chicken Cheesesteak. Yo, listen, you can't go wrong. And then she got this, it's either like the breakfast sampler or platter or something. It's the trio. The
trio? Okay.
Yeah, the trio, I think it came with chicken, or it was French toast, grits, shrimp.
A little bit of everything?
A little bit of pretty much everything. Yeah, I think it came with chicken and waffles too or something like that.
And I get the shrimp and grits from there, but they have it where they do like the crab lump and stuff too.
What?
Let me tell you something, man. That will bless your life.
Shoot, I gotta go
there
this morning.
I mean, look, the line be a little long, but that tells you that food is that good. Like, and I say that. I've said this to her too. I said, go share. I said, listen now. I said, now look. This line out here is way too long for me. I was like, but that really tells me that people are willing to wait because that food is just that good. She said, we get y'all in and out. And they do. The service is fast. The service is excellent. There's just that many people who desire to eat at that restaurant, and that should tell you all you need to know.
Yeah, so shout out to Go Share. Yeah, that's awesome, man. Fantastic. Well, Brooks, I appreciate you so much for coming on Navigating Journalism Podcast. This is a great conversation, man. Before we go ahead and tell everybody where they can watch you, the times, and how they can follow you on social media.
Yeah, man. So I hope to stay connected with anyone who's watching. I really do. You can always connect on Instagram, Facebook, Twitter / X now, at Brooks Baptiste on all social media platforms. Even on YouTube is where I throw a lot of my interviews and stuff like that when I get the chance to interview some great people. Watch me weekday mornings on Atlanta News First at 6. On Peachtree TV at 7, and then back on Atlanta News First, the CBS affiliate here in Atlanta, at 9 o'clock. But it doesn't matter what time. I'm in the show somewhere in all the hours. So, make sure you tune in, man. Let us know what you like. Let us know what you enjoy. And let us know when we do something great, because we want to make sure we keep doing that to be a voice for those here in the community.
Awesome. And then a little nugget for the journalists that's watching.
A little nugget for the journalists. Be your authentic self. Don't put on a news anchor voice. Don't put on a news reporter voice. We have enough of that in the industry. Be who you are and give people something memorable every time that they see you. And by that, I mean, when they watch you on TV, it may be your look. That's just different. It may be your voice. It may be the way you dress. It may be your hairstyle. There are things that weren't always accepted in this industry, but now things have changed.
Yeah, girls wearing their natural hair now.
People want to see themselves when they look at you. Like when they watch a TV station, they don't just want to see what we grew up seeing. We grew up seeing the same hairstyles, the same thing, and that was cool. That worked then. But now, as there's been this new group of journalists coming in, be you. Be you. I promise you will give people something to remember, and then they will automatically say, I know that's real and I know that's true because it's you being your authentic self.
That's what's up, man. I love that. That was great to close it out, man. And it's funny, the anchor person voice, man. I was notorious for that. I was the loud anchor man. Like,
well, in a way, we thought we had to be that way. We did. But I was glad that when I first came into the industry, I came up under people who told me that as soon as I walked in the door. Don't come in here with that anchor voice. Do not come in here with that reporter voice. We don't want to hear that. Yeah. Like give us who you are. Who you are is who we want.
Yeah. So shout out to all the mentors that stopped that when it started. I appreciate that so much. Thank you. Well, guys, appreciate y'all so much for watching this episode of NJP Navigating Journalism Podcast. It's your boy Tyrik Wynn. Y'all can connect with me on social media: Instagram Tyrik Wynn, iHeartRadio, also on Twitter /X Tyrik Wynn TV. Also on Facebook, Tyrik Wynn, iHeartRadio. Go ahead and connect with me. Click the link in the bio. Go ahead and get that Tyrik Wynn merch. I got the shirt, Got
the shoes.
Got the footwork. Y'all check that out.
Those clean too. I mean, those must be fresh out the box.
Oh yeah, I just got these like 2 days ago.
Not nan scuff on them, okay?
I appreciate that, man. So yeah, y'all make sure y'all go check that out. It's Navigating Journalism Podcast, merch on there too. All types of great things. So y'all make sure y'all go check that out. Link in the Instagram bio. Like I say, appreciate y'all so much for tuning in. Catch y'all next time.